This is KGW News at noon.
And we start this noon with more details on a shots fired call in North Portland. It happened early this morning at this 7-Eleven near Killingsworth and Greeley, and police taped off the area to investigate. Witnesses told officers two people were shooting at each other. No one was hit, but bullets did break the window at the store, and the broken glass injured someone. So far, police have not made any arrests. Now to the pandemic and its impact on local schools. The David Douglas School District announced it'll close tomorrow and Friday in preparation for a possible return to distance learning. In a note to parents, administrators say they hope to have kids back in class next week. In North Portland, Jefferson High School is back to distance learning, and Salem Kaiser announced it's closing on Friday because of COVID staffing issues. Pat Doris has a look at how other districts are doing.
In the Tigard-Tualatin School District, 6,500 students are going back to distance learning. The district will temporarily close Tigard High School, Tualatin High School, along with Fowler Middle School and Hazelbrook and Tualatin Middle Schools. They join Durham Elementary, which was already closed because of COVID. Superintendent Sue Reekie-Smith told me there simply were not enough people to fill all the positions needed to keep the schools running.
Because this thing is incredibly fluid, and much different than Delta. Delta was a slower roll, and we could keep an eye to it. This one is just literally moment by moment.
She said the daily battle to find enough healthy people to staff the schools is exhausting.
Our day starts here at about 4:30 in the morning. We take a look at staff outages and sub-requests. We then take a look at where we are with our students. I get another report around 8 a.m., one midday, one in the afternoon, and then in the evening, we're taking a look at sub-requests for the next day. And 4:30, we start all over again.
She hopes the switch to online is brief, and as of right now, the plan is to return to in-person learning on Monday, January 24th. In the Hillsborough District, two large elementary schools, Indian Hills and Brookwood, will both go online, sending 779 students back home. A spokeswoman said the concern is a possibility of a high number of people infected who are now at school.
It's a number of factors. It's, can you field enough staff to hold school safely? Have there been enough potential exposures that the resources it would take to potentially put all of those people through a testing regimen to determine whether or not it's safe to hold school or not is realistic.
Forest Grove High School is also moving to online classes with a third of their students already absent. At the Salem Kaiser District, the second biggest in Oregon, it's day-to-day, says the assistant superintendent.
We don't actually have a threshold because every site is different. Of course, that 20% would make things really difficult to keep buildings open and functioning the way we'd like to.
Late today, the district announced it will close all schools Friday because of a growing shortage of staff and higher than normal student absences, all apparently brought on by the coronavirus. Pat Doris, KGW News.
While students go home, nurses are going back to work. Legacy Health is loosening COVID guidelines for its hospitals, letting employees come to work with mild symptoms. Legacy changed the rules because there aren't enough workers to take care of patients. Employees who test positive can come back to work 5 days after their symptoms start if they can treat those symptoms with over-the-counter medication. Well, all this is happening as some Oregon counties saw their COVID cases quadruple last week. Health experts say that shows how fast Omicron is spreading. We chatted with Clackamas County Public Health Officer Dr. Sarah Present. She said in Clackamas County, the test positivity rate for the first week of January was almost 23%. It was just under 5% a month ago. Experts believe there are even more cases going unreported because people are taking COVID tests at home.
So we know, first of all, that our case rate is an undercount. And we know that there are lots of cases that are probably not being tested at all because our test positivity rate is so high. So the test positivity rate has a lot to do with the test availability for those people who are sick. So looking at both of those numbers together, I know that there's a lot of COVID in our community that we're not knowing about.
So when should you test for Omicron? Dr. Present recommends 3 to 5 days after exposure or 2 to 3 days after your symptoms start. That way your viral load is high enough to produce an accurate result. Now, if your results are negative, you're asked to do another test in 24 hours to confirm. Well, when it comes to COVID cases, let's look at the big picture for a second. Let's talk nationally. The U.S. reported just over 1.3 million new COVID cases on Monday. That surpasses the previous record of 1 million cases set earlier this month. Looking back on 2021, Portland marked its second warmest year on record, and nationwide it was the 4th warmest. Keely Chalmers talked to climate experts to get their take on what's happening.
This summer, records shattered as the relentless heat went on and on and on. It was a heat wave like no other.
It's not uncommon to see a couple days of reach 100 degrees, 102, 104. But to see our records like they did in June, where one day we shattered the previous all-time high, the next day you do it again, and then the third day in a row, that's pretty unique.
Clinton Rocky not only lived it, he tracked it, which is why the National Weather Service meteorologist is not all that surprised that 2021 was the second warmest year on record at the Portland airport.
But with last year, we had that persistent pattern with a high pressure over the western United States that really blocked us from getting any kind of good cooling at night.
Rocky compares that high pressure to a rock in a river blocking any sort of cooling storms. He, like other climate experts, says because our climate is changing, we will see more extreme weather events like this, more heat waves, but also more and larger storms.
Where you go really cold or really hot or really wet or really dry, that swing in extremes is more likely what you'll see with climate change as we continue, as Mother Nature tries to reestablish new climate zones.
Changes that are not only causing cities to heat up to record highs, but also our oceans.
The oceans are warming at a rate now, it's 8 times faster than we've seen in past decades. In 2021, the oceans are now the hottest they've ever been.
The warmer the oceans, the more intense the storms, the faster the glaciers melt. In other words,
that doesn't bode well.
Yes, this is an indication of climate change.
Oregon State climatologist Larry O'Neill says 2021 was notable, not just because of that deadly heat wave.
It was the fact that we had so many days of heat waves, of just persistent heat that we usually don't get.
And it is that persistent heat we will need to take more permanent steps to deal with, investing in air conditioners or other ways to keep cool, because the climate models show we will continue to gradually warm. Keely Chalmers, KGW News.
Okay, before we get to the forecast, I want you to take a peek at the view from our Wells Fargo Skycam. Yeah, a little few high hazy clouds, but it's sunny out there. It's bright. And Rod, the other thing I should mention, it is mild.
Yes, it is. It's comfortable. Hey, one thing, there's so many things we could talk about, Brenda, that we could have rolled into the Keely's story, which is fantastic. But, you know, if you don't have AC, realize that 2021, we hit 80 degrees 90 days. 3 months. That was the most we've ever done. That means there was more days where it felt uncomfortable in your home or your apartment than you typically would expect if you don't have that switch to blow the cool air in. So that's another barometer that was really interesting about last year. Hey, look at the rain. This morning it was clipping Astoria and Kelso and Longview. Now it's the bulk of it's almost moving up north of Seattle. And the clouds, I think you can see right there, kind of thinning out. So most of our area getting treated to, as Brenda mentioned, a mild, partly sunny afternoon. A little brightness in Depot Bay. Love the spot, 101 right there. The view from the Channel House there along the coast looking up. This was brighter about 15 minutes ago. This is the Reserve Vineyards and Golf Club camera out in Aloha. Kind of an overcast sky right now, but very mild, 57 degrees. Here are the other numbers. Remember on Sunrise you said, I bet you, maybe somebody will hit 60 today. There's Beaverton, 60 degrees. Hillsborough, 57. Gresham is warming, 56. Troutdale and Camas, they still have about an east wind to 10 miles per hour coming out of the gorge where it's a little bit cooler. But still, Troutdale's made it up into the 50s right now. Our capital is up to 57, High Salem, and it's 55 out in McMinnville. So, I mean, on average, we're going to be right around 56 degrees throughout the rest of the day. Beaverton, if you want to feel 60, get in your car as soon as the show's over, drive out to Beaverton, soak it in, and then settle back home, Brenda.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you, Rod.